Now to a story that we raised after an excellent report by Simon Shepherd in the National Business Review on Friday. We raised it Monday, and I am, to be honest, gobsmacked. Well, maybe not. I'm not gobsmacked. That mainstream media have not made more of what I think is a very, very important and disturbing story about our system of justice. Details are sketchy, and I wasn't in court, but on Friday, a man was granted permanent name suppression, having been found guilty on a selection of representative charges relating to the importation of objectionable material being child pornography, which showed children being treated sadistically by adult men, young girls, including some of the most depraved practices. Really ugly stuff. This man found guilty, he has been sent to prison, and we'll talk about his sentence in a moment. But he's been granted, he made a $50,000 donation to some groups, and he has been granted permanent name suppression. The name of his family, which is apparently high profile, is permanently suppressed, and businesses associated with him and the family are suppressed. He keeps, having been convicted, his anonymity for life. And I guess other potential victims of his wrongdoing will never know and maybe get the courage to come forward and speak about potential other crimes. A lot of people think that's outrageous, including Bob McCoskrie from Family First, and he joins us by video link now. Bob, this story beggars belief, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing that you highlighted right at the start, Sean, was the fact that the legacy media have been incredibly silent on this one. And, that immediately raises red flags. Credit to the National Business Review and Simon Shepherd for reporting this one. But even once they reported it, and even after there was a lot of chatter on social media about it, the legacy media just don't seem to want to go near this one. So I'm a little bit suspicious about all of that. Why are they avoiding this case when they have been reporting other cases?
All right, let's break it down. First, the negative impact on everyone who is, 47 years old and could be described as being a member of a prominent or wealthy family with a business. And I'll tell you, my co-founder of the platform, Wayne Jr. Wright, apparently there's been a flutter on social media that he is the person involved. Now, I can tell you, I'm talking to Wayne every day, and as far as I know, he's still at large. I'm not having to call him on a secret burner phone and, perimeter him a maximum security prison. But that is what happens when you have suppressions like this. Everyone becomes guilty or a suspect, don't they?
Well, it's the latest bingo game at the moment. Guess the name. In fact, last night I got a call with another 3 suggestions of names.
Yeah.
And that's part of the secrecy. Look, I think this is the issue with child abuse, child sexual abuse, is that I think there's a couple of reasons that we raise, that we publish the name. Firstly, it's to make the community aware. And secondly, it's part of the consequence of such a heinous type of crime as this, because I think what people don't understand is that, look, these may be images, but the fact of the matter is you need the actual abuse of a child to create that image.
Whether it be here or overseas.
That's the kind of connection that I think some people don't quite make that connection. They just think it's AI generated or it's stock photo. No, it's not. It's the actual physical abuse and sexual abuse. Look, Sean, I actually, I just did a quick Google in preparation for this, and look, I found Donald Surratt, 35 years old, who was sentenced just recently. He didn't get name suppression. In fact, the team that led the investigation said this sentence for the defendant reinforces our dedication to protecting the innocence of our most vulnerable populations from such abhorrent child exploitation. I think that the danger is that people always think about the offender being the victim, but it's not. It's the children that are being sexually exploited. In fact, there was one Ian Durbin from Nelson. This is back in April. Yeah. He didn't get name suppression. Phoebe Robertson, a early childhood education reliever in the Bay of Plenty, she didn't get she didn't get name suppression. And I was interested, the judge said the police's focus was on keeping the public safe and keeping a watchful eye on the defendant. So that's part of the deterrent. Auckland filmmaker Rajneil Singh, he didn't get name suppression. That was recently. And in fact, just yesterday, we had an investigation into Storm Constable Carter, who's 22 years old. That was reported just yesterday. No name suppression, full detail. So obviously he wasn't rich. And then one more, Sean, big story in Stuff Today on their website is about the fact that residents in Papamoa, which is in Tauranga, they're concerned about a sex offender being released into the community, and I don't think they sort of know who it is. Look, this is part of the consequence of this type of offending involving children, the most vulnerable, is that there are consequences. People need to be aware of your offending. One, to make people aware, and two, I think it's a deterrent to the offender themselves.
I also think in very real terms, when you know that someone is an offender, there may be other offences that people can then come forward and have the courage. Often people do not lay complaints about this. They suffer in silence. I'd also add, though, maybe devil's advocate, this was importation of these images. Does it make it any different? Does it lessen the crime if the images are sourced from overseas?
No, most of these the crimes were importation. Some of them were distribution. It's very rare that you see kind of the creation aspect, which I think you're alluding to. But look, even importation and distribution is a crime, and so it should be, because it's actually driving the demand. It's driving the industry. And look, every time, I mean, this was in our latest case of our wealthy person, it was almost 12,000 files, hours and hours of video. And I think, as you alluded to, I mean, I was amazed. It was over a relatively short period of time. It was only 9 to 10 months. So that's a huge accumulation of material in a very short time. But it was the age of the kids. I mean, even the judge.
Let's not go into the details. It wasn't nice stuff.
Yeah, but Sean, that is part of the reality check, because what we're doing is we're actually colluding and helping keep someone secret who obviously has major issues, and the community needs to be protected from. And once again, unfortunately, some judges, I mean, this judge gave a 56% discount
on sentence
where the Crown wanted it to start at.
Look, there's a name that keeps popping up. Can I just say to people, I have been told it is not that person, the most likely thing, and we shouldn't. The problem is this suppression order creates that. Now, you have written to the Attorney General, Solicitor General, Bob.
Solicitor General Una Jagosi, KC, and I've also CC'd in Paul Goldsmith, who's the Minister of Justice as well. In fact, I probably should send a copy to Judith Collins, who's the Attorney General. I might do that after this interview. And that's appealing and saying, look, we want you to both review the sentence, because the sentence was eventually reduced to 29 months.
Yeah.
You know, and this is, this is almost 12,000 files, hours and hours of the sexual abuse of very young children. But also the name secrecy as well, because, part of this is a natural consequence of committing a crime as heinous as this, is that your name does get out there. And I think it's there to protect the community, but it's also there to protect the offender from themselves, because they know people are aware. That is just the sad consequence of your behaviour. But we've got to get rid of this sexual abuse industry of kids.
Yeah. I think it should be reviewed. Do you know of any other case where someone's had permanent name suppression?